We all do it, right? We plug something in, flip a switch, and just expect it to work. But have you ever stopped to think about the actual electricity flowing through those wires? Well, that silent current isn't always as perfect as we think. And you know what? The quality of that power? It's one of the biggest and most invisible challenges we're facing today. And for the folks who are actually in charge of keeping our factories, our data centers, our whole power grid running, well, these invisible problems, they cause some very real failures. And they can't just take a guess at what's wrong. No way. They need special tools, tools that can basically see inside the wires and find problems that are completely hidden from view. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We'll start by looking at this invisible problem, then we'll meet the power detective that can actually solve it. We're going to check electricity's vital signs, dig into some deeper issues, see the power of data, and finally tie it all together to see how this is engineering a much smarter future. Okay, first up, the invisible problem. So why does good versus bad power quality matter to you? Well, this isn't just some nerdy term for engineers. It directly hits your wallet, affects your utility bills, and even determines how long your electronics are going to last. You can think of it like this. It's like a silent sickness in your electrical system. All you see are the symptoms, right? A motor just burns out for what seems like no reason. A computer network keeps crashing. Or maybe your energy bill is just way higher than it should be. The real culprit is often what we call dirty power. But how would you ever know? You can't see it. So if you've got this invisible culprit, how do you catch it? Well, you need a detective. And in our story, that detective is this guy right here, the VT-PM604 Power Quality Analyzer. Its whole purpose, its entire reason for being, is to make the invisible visible. And here it is, the detective's toolkit. This isn't just one single device. Nope, it's a whole kit, packed with these specialized clamps and probes. Every single piece has a job to do, letting an expert connect it right to the heart of an electrical system to gather that critical intel. And where do you find this detective on the job? Pretty much everywhere. We're talking plant maintenance, energy audits to slash costs. But what's really cool is where it's showing up now. Think solar power plants, EV charging stations. I mean, this thing is critical for making sure all that new green tech runs the way it's supposed to. It's a huge piece of that puzzle. All right, so an expert hooks this thing up. What are they even looking for? Let's go back to that doctor analogy. It's like they're checking a patient's vital signs. The second it's connected, this analyzer starts taking all these fundamental measurements to see just how healthy the electrical system really is. And this screen, that's the heart monitor. It gives you that instant, real-time picture of the system's health. Right away, you can see all the vitals, like the voltage on each line, laid out in clear, easy-to-read numbers. No guesswork. So what are these vitals? Well, you've got voltage. That's kind of like the water pressure in a pipe. Then there's current, which is how much is flowing. Frequency tells you if the supply is stable. But this last one, power factor, oh, that's a big one. It's basically a grade, an efficiency score for how well the power is being used. If that score is low, you are literally just throwing money and energy away. But here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes the vitals look fine, but the problems are still there. And that's when the real detective work has to start. It means we've got to go deeper, beyond the basics, to look for these tiny, hidden distortions in the signal. And that brings us to a really important idea in all of this. You've probably heard this word before, but what exactly are harmonics? Okay, picture this. Perfect electricity is a beautiful, smooth wave. Harmonics are like static or ripples that mess up that perfect wave. They're distortions. And here's the crazy part. A lot of the time, our own modern high-efficiency electronics are the ones creating this pollution. It's this electrical noise that can cause other things to overheat, waste a ton of energy, or just fail out of the blue. And that is why you need a tool this powerful. It doesn't just tell you, hey, there's some noise here. Oh no, it can identify and measure that noise in incredible detail, all the way up to the 51st order. That's like, imagine not just knowing a river is polluted, but having a report that names 51 different chemical pollutants in it. That's the level of detail an engineer needs to find the exact source and fix it. So a real-time snapshot is great, for sure. But what about those super annoying problems that only happen once in a while? The ones that are impossible to catch in the act? To solve those mysteries, you can't just take a picture. You have to set up a stakeout. You have to watch the system over hours or days or even longer. And that's where data logging becomes a total game changer. Yeah, to catch a problem that comes and goes, you have to be watching 24/7. And this analyzer is built for exactly that kind of long-term surveillance. It's got 30 gigabytes of memory built right in. You can think of it as a black box recorder for the whole electrical system. It just sits there, capturing everything, so that when something finally does go wrong, you have a perfect record of what happened. And you get to decide how closely you want to watch. If you're hunting for a really fast, glitchy problem, you can set it to log data every single second. That gives you this super detailed second-by-second timeline of everything that's happening. You're not going to miss that tiny split-second voltage dip that's been causing all the chaos. But check this out. This is wild. If you dial that back to logging data every minute, which is still incredibly detailed, by the way, that 30 gigs of storage will last for over 12 years. 12. We're not even talking about finding one little problem anymore. That's enough to understand the entire life story of a building's energy use. For long-term energy audits, that is pure gold. Okay, and this is where it gets really, really smart, especially if you're trying to figure out why your energy bills are so high. See, power companies often hit you with extra charges for what's called peak demand, basically for the moment you use the most electricity. But they measure it in these specific time windows. Well, this analyzer can actually mimic the exact way your utility company measures your usage, so it can see what they see. And by doing that, a business can finally figure out exactly what's causing those super expensive spikes in their bill. All right, let's zoom out and put all these pieces together. We've got a device that sees invisible electrical noise and can record data for more than a decade. So what? Why does any of this really matter? Well, because it's an absolutely essential tool for building the kind of energy future we all want, one that's more efficient and way more reliable. And the impact here is huge. Think about it. When you diagnose and fix these power quality problems, you're directly cutting down on wasted energy. You're stopping expensive equipment from just breaking down. You're making the whole power grid more stable and reliable. And this is so important, you're making sure that all this new tech, like solar and EVs, is actually working as well as it can. It all adds up to a much smarter, much more sustainable world. And so, I want to leave you with this question. As our world just keeps electrifying, we're plugging in our cars, our homes, everything, the need for clean, stable power is just going to skyrocket. So the big question for our future isn't just how do we make more power, it's how do we make sure the power we use is every bit as smart as the devices we're plugging into it.